the recap of this particular novel, classic novel, Kantapura, written by Raja Rao. So, what we find out at the beginning, we realize about the author that Raja Rao was an important Indian English novelist who was deeply influenced by Indian culture, philosophy, and the freedom movement, isn't it? And although he lived in Europe for many years, his writing remained rooted, right, connected in Indian traditions and spiritual thought. Got my point. His close association with Gandhian ideas and Vedantic philosophy, so that shaped his literary works. So Kantapura, which was written during the 1938, so which was the second, first, means, what you can say, that first classic novel, and the second one was The Snake in the Rope, isn't it? So, and this Kantapura classic novel was written while he was in France. Got my point? So, and that reflects his deep emotional and cultural connection with India. Clear my point? So then we talk about the theme of novel that called as a Kantapura. So when we talk about Kantapura, Kantapura is a novel or classic novel that portrays the impacts of Mahatma Gandhi. So Mahatma Gandhi's freedom movement, isn't it? A freedom movement on a small, remote South Indian village. So the novel actually focuses what, not on a single heroic uh, individual. It doesn't focus to the single heroic individual, but on the collective experiences or collective experiences of heroic villages or heroic villagers who were known as the ordinary villagers, isn't it? So this classic novel shows how Gandhian ideals means ideologies. So Gandhian's ideology means set of ideas, even, right? Gandhi's ideals or Gandhian ideals of truth, non-violence, and sacrifice. So truth, sacrifice, non-violence, self-reliance. Self-reliance means self-belief. So these are gradually awakened, right? These are gradually awakened what, political consciousness among the rural masses. So then we talk about when was the time and where the thing occurred. If I talk about the noble Kantapura, so here the events which was nothing but called as a very popular of the novel, so that take place around 1930 during civil disobedience, isn't it? Civil disobedience movement. The the setting is the village of Kantapura. Setting is a village of Kantapura located near the Western Ghats. So the village is small, the village is caste divided, right? The village is connected to the means inculcated with the poor. The village is nothing but people having with the deeply religious, isn't it? So, and the village is governed by age old customs. Age old customs means customs that founded means a long years ago and still being continuing uh, then. And also, not only that, we also find out superstitions, right? So this village Kantapura represents what, countless Indian village of that time, Indian villages of that time. So, but the interesting part you would find out, Kantapura came out when entry of Gandhian ideas, entry of Gandhian ideas. So Mahatma Gandhi never appears, like we understood in our last class. Mahatma Gandhi never appears directly in the novel, right? But his presence is strongly felt throughout the novel. Why? Now, because his ideas enter Kantapura through the protagonist. Who was the protagonist? Murthy, right? So a young educated male man, right? A young educated man who gives up his studies. Why? To follow Gandhi. Now understand that who gives up, left his education and to follow Gandhi. So through Murthy means the villagers learn about what? Swaraj, isn't it? Swaraj, non-violence, Khadi, and the national unity. Because when we read the text, we realize that how Murthy means reached to each and every individual, door to door, and spread the ideologies of Mahatma Gandhi. Then, so Gandhi therefore becomes a spiritual force that actually guiding the village, isn't it? Now, another thing also we can draw here that's called as a, when we talk about Murti, what the role of Murti, how Murti came into the picture, and why do we call Murti was the protagonist of the text or protagonist of this classic novel? Because when we say that Murti plays the central role in organizing the freedom movement, right? So, because we also understood that what Gandhi was not directly in the picture, Murthy brought that. So, Murthy plays the central role in organizing the freedom movement in Kantapura. So, he goes from house to house, spread Gandhian ideas. So, encourages spinning, isn't it? Encourages spinning on the charka, forms a Congress committee. So, but Congress committee was made by whom? Humes, right? So forms a Congress committee and leads satyagraha and also picketing, right? He also works for the, you can say, removal of the untouchability by entering the Pariha quarter, which angers Orthodox villagers despite being, excommunicated and losing his mother, right? So he remains committed to the movement. So we also understood that what Murthy lost his mother, right? Murthy was also excommunicated, removed. So Murthy remains committed to the movement, isn't it? So then, not only that, Kantapura doesn't talk means only about that Gandhian's ideas, Murthy's into the what you can say that into the movement through Gandhian philosophy. We also understand that means Kantapura was associated with the participation of women. Participation of women. Like you can say, women play a means a very important role in the freedom struggle. Freedom struggle in the Kantapura or in Kantapura. So why do we call that? Can you tell me a woman who's means, whom? Ratna, isn't it? So who is Ratna? How do you define Ratna? Ratna is a young widow, right? Ratna is a young widow. So, and who is bold, progressive, and widow means you understand? Right? Whose husband was dead. Right? So, a young widow is bold, progressive, and fearless. Right? So, she leads the movement. She leads the movement when Murti is, what you can say, that Murti is imprisoned. Imprisoned means was put in the jail, right? Imprisoned. So and willingly faces police brutality at the jail. Who means Murti? Now this was not been taught to you, right? So that how Murti went to jail, right? So and how Ratna took the place of Murti and continued the continued the purpose, right? So here also you would find out means Murthy was imprisoned and willingly faces police brutality and jail, right? So next you also find out Rangamma. When we talk about women's participation, we have Ratna, we have Rangamma, right? So Rangamma, another educated widow, so who reads newspapers and educates villagers, right? And about national events. Right. So through these women, the novel highlights the active participation of women in India's freedom movement. Now, here you find out two of the widows whose name are called as Ratna and Rangamma. Right. So another thing is called as a so these are the things clearly indicating Kantapura was not a small means or a kind of a piece of information that deals with the freedom, right? It discusses more than that women's participation. It discusses that how means spiritually people are connecting to Gandhi's ideology, isn't it? So social, cultural, political means political events were connected to this. So we can also say that what means when we talk about freedom movement, right? So the opposition to the movement, right? So opposition to the movement means what Britishers did something and you opposed to them, right? So the Gandhian movement faces strong opposition, right? So it indicates that what Britishers were ruling and the Kantapura villagers, so they opposed to it. Not only the Kantapura villagers, it refers to the means Kantapura was an example you can say, whereas the each and every citizen of the country at then, so they all go against the means Britishers, isn't it? Or strong opposition means strong opposed to the Britishers ideology. So at the same time also means these people's movement are known as the Gandhian movement. Right. These people's movements are known as the Gandhian movement. And Gandhian movement faces strong opposition. Strong opposition means by the Britishers, right? And the certain villagers, like you can say that Bhatta, right? I hope you know, you heard about that Bhatta who is nothing but showing the political authority, right? Greedy means also Brahmin moneylender. So who supports the British? Isn't it? I hope you all have seen the movie called Lagan, where means most of the people who are part of the means ideas of Amir Khan. At the same time, some people are there who are envious, jealousy of Amir Khan, and they became the what you can say spy. Right. So, like that, you will also find out Bhatta, a greedy Brahmin moneylender who supports the British and works against Murthy. Right. So, you can also find out another one which is called as a waterfall Benkamma. Waterfall Benkamma. So, who spreads rumors? Waterfall Benkamma, right? Who spreads rumors and represents what cheap mentality, narrow-minded orthodoxy. So you also know about Bade Khan, right? So the policeman, Bade Khan, the policeman who enforces British authority. So and these characters, who are these characters? Bade Khan and Waterfall Benkamma, isn't it? So these characters represent what? Represent means forces that resist social and political change. So when the people are fighting for their freedom, whereas you would find out these are the people, Bade Khan and the Bhatta and Waterfall Venkata. So they do nothing but what means they have a kind of a social and also political motive, right? So you can say that what do they do? Now they spread rumors. They spread narrow-minded orthodoxy. Orthodoxy means what? Like we say that purity. You talk about that. What you can say? Difference between the Hindu Muslim, difference between the different castes, right? Creating that, isn't it? So then we also understood about the coffee estate and exploitation. So when we say the coffee estate exploitation, we understand near Kantapura lies the what that called as a Skeffington. Skeffington Coffee Estate. So that was owned by a white planter. That owned by a white planter as Hunter Sahib. Please note down that. So, what do we say that Skeffington Coffee Estate means owned by a white planter known as Hunter Sahib. So the estate workers are exploited, right? Hunter Sahib, right? So the estate workers are exploited. Estate workers are exploited. How? How did the estate workers are exploited? Now they were exploited financially, economically, and physically. It means from morning to evening they were working too hard, and they were not given the amount that they deserve, isn't it? So they were overworked, they were underpaid, they were overworked, they were underpaid, and they were harshly treated. Harshly treated means obviously brutally treated. So tortured. Later, you would find out moved by the suffering of the villagers. So when they found out that the villagers were abused, tortured, so they realized the sufferings of these villagers, and there they started means against the Britishers, isn't it? So even these workers also joined the freedom struggle. Who are these workers? Now that called as the Effington Coffee Estate, right? Skeffington Coffee Estate workers, right? So that shows the spread of the national consciousness. That shows the nothing but what spreading the national consciousness. Then we talk about freedom activities in the village. So what kind of a freedom activities in the village? Like the villagers participated in several Gandhian activities. What are the Gandhian activities such as picketing, toddy shop, satyagraha, and no tax campaign? So we have a variety of things like civil disobedience, right? Then after we talk about what? Salt, salt march or dandi march. Then we talk about satyagraha, isn't it? Is it? Then no tax campaigns, isn't it? These are the nothing but the list of the movement that took the support of Gandhi's ideology. So here also we find out means the British government responds with this severe repression, including severe repression means conduct of full of pressure. So they started lathi charge. So they arrested people and they violence against the men, isn't it? Not only men, women, and children also. Despite suffering, the villagers continue to protest, resist bravely, isn't it? So, what we can find out that means this indicate that the villagers have also taken sufficient steps to stop the Britishers to means, and it all started when? Now, it all started when means the Britishers put the pressure on these farmers for heavy tax, as well as when people are unable to give their tax. So what happened? They auction their property, lands, isn't it? All such kind of a things. So we also see that what means when village people uh, resist the Britishers. So obviously means they were in a kind of a repression, repercussions, and also they means start lathi charge, right? So and not only that, arrest and other things also continue, right? So like we find out the Murthy who is arrested and sent to jail, right, where he was tortured by the police brutally, isn't it? So, but the movement doesn't stop. Why? No, because means Ratna was a widow, takes over leadership and continue organizing the villagers. Right. So, and many many villagers are imprisoned. Many villagers are beaten and humiliated. So, but or yet that spirit remains unbroken. Right. It means you can say that what despite you have been punished, punished for imprisoned, beaten, and humiliated. You stick to your ideas and you decided to that what means you are going to you go against these Britishers, and this shows nothing but the strength of collective. Collective means unity was there. Collective resistance inspired by again Gandhian ideals, right? So then we talk about the destruction and exile. What do you mean by destruction and exile? Now, as you know that repression increases, the villagers' lands and homes are destroyed, right? So, because these people were nothing but followed the Gandhian philosophy and go against the Britishers, they even beaten and punished. Still, also they resisted the Britishers. So that's why means what the Britishers did. They actually means took the lands, destroyed the lands, homes, and forcing these villagers to abandon Kantapura. Abandon means called as a no, you can't stay here, right? So not to stay or forcefully means make them evacuated from that place. So they migrate to another village called what? Kashipura. Kantapura, Kashipura. Right. So though they lose their homes and livelihood, but they keep their dignity. They keep their dignity and moral courage. And their physical defeat becomes a spiritual victory. So they may be physically defeated. How did they physically defeat it? So you can say that they were forced to stay away from that place. So they were beaten, they were given punishment. So if they resist, so that's called as a physical punishment you did, right? You did to them or you gave to them. But what about means their reaction, right? It's called as a no reaction, isn't it? That's what is the non-violence approach of Gandhian philosophy, and that's what make the Britishers repressions, and they were forced to means, uh, leave that place, isn't it? So that is what we can find out here. And then we talk about use of myth and religion. When we talk about myth and religion, what do you mean by myth? The myth is called as something which is a hypothetical or superstition, isn't it? So the noble Kantapura, the classic novel Kantapura, frequently, mixes what? Myth or called as a mythology, isn't it? So mythology and contemporary politics. So Gandhi is compared to what? Mythological heroes like Rama, like Krishna. So while the British are seen as demons, Ravana, right? Religious stories and Harikathas. So these are used to explain political ideas and making the freedom struggle understandable to simple villagers. And this technique that actually elevates, increases the movement to an epic level, means in a top level, isn't it? So now you can say that what if we think of the classic novel called Kantapura, we can find out that means it all follows with the person who is not physically appeared, but his everything is means followed by the people, followed by the protagonist, followed by the hero, woman, right? So, and those of the things are nothing but creating the title of the novel, Kantapura, special, isn't it, or unique? So the story, right? The story is narrated by an old village. When we talk about myth and religion, and Gandhi was taken as the hero of Rama and Krishna, and Britishers were known as the demon. Demons means you understand that's something called as a asura, right? So. And those stories were taught to the people, isn't it? So, or told the people. So, the story is narrated by an old village woman whose language is what? How did they actually tell that story? So, obviously, orally, right? So, the woman whose language is oral, emotional, and poetic. Got my point? Ordinary events are described with imagination and lyricism. Science, politics, and modern ideas are explained using village metaphors, making the narrative, clear and uniquely Indian. Got my point. Now you find a question in your mind that called as what, how it is connecting to this. We understand that the problem of the Britishers, right? Problem, who are the problem? Britishers are the problem. Who are the heroes? We can say Murthy and like Murthy, many of the followers of the Hindu, Gandhi's philosophy. So women's participation. So you also find out the villains are there who spread rumors. So Bade Khan, then after Bhatta, then after then also water. What is that? Ah. So these are the people, right? And we also find out that different kind of events which are occurred. So and in that situation, we also find out how Kantapura villagers suffered. We also understood that what how they means these people were so inspired to do that now because these people were told story in such a way so that they were influenced, isn't it? They were influenced. Like, look at that. So, if you watch a movie and you find out that how the hero is suffered a lot, and you find out the kind of a cruelty, right? And finally, you get influenced, and you feel like what now the hero should means, get up and attack to these villains and should kill them, right? So, or even if means if the hero died, if I would be in his place, or if I were there, means I is supposed to attack that civilian, isn't it? So similar to that, when the story was told to the villagers, um, you can say that in a narrative form. So where the old woman used to tell the story in a orally and with keeping the emotion into it, क्योंकि दुखी होके अगर कोई चीज को बोला जाए, that have a more means a more impact in an ordinary manner, if you say, isn't it? So and in a poetic manner even. So you can say that the kind of a statement, the statement is emotional. Even the statement is not only emotional, told in a manner of poetic manner. So गाना दर्द भरा गाना हमें हमेशा टच होता है ना हार्ट को. सो दैट्स व्हाट इवन ऑर्डिनरी इवेंट्स आर डिस्क्राइब्ड विद imagination and lyricism. Science, politics, and modern ideas are explained using village metaphors. So metaphors means comparing to the villagers, making the story very clear and uniquely Indian. Then when we talk about Kantapura as a Gandhi epic, why Kantapura as a Gandhi epic? Now, because the novel is often called a Gandhi epic because it records the changes of an entire community, right? It records the changes to the entire community. So when we talk about community, it means I'm talking about different communities are there, right? So under Gandhian influence. So without showing Gandhi directly, how come means you can say that the teacher is not there, but through the his what you can say that through his dialogue, a student learn a lot, right? Or student means does well. And that's similar to that. Gandhi was not present, but the kind of a transformation of an entire community under Gandhi's influence means without showing Gandhi directly, it captures his moral power. It captures the mass appeal. Mass means called as a huge people who get means accepted the Gandhi's philosophy or Gandhi's influence. The noble Kantapura celebrates the silent sacrifices of ordinary people rather than glorifying individual heroes, isn't it? So that's what you would find out, a person who has been tortured, resisting, and defeated physically, but had not lost his, had not lost his what you can say that commitment to the country, right? So at the same time, the leader sit at home and enjoying all this lavish lifestyle, but means telling for the support of the country. So you would find out that people should follow to whom, that the person who is ordinary, who suffered a lot, isn't it? So that's what is indicating about what means celebrating the silent sacrifices. Silent sacrifices of whom? Now, ordinary people. Right. So, and this novel is written by Raja Rao in a far away from the country, somewhere, somewhere, a foreign country, right? European country. So, but you find out that still he carries the Indianness in this means novel. So, and Kantapura is a deeply Indian novel, right? So why now? Because the theme present into it is called as a deeply Indian, isn't it? So character, storytelling style, the way story was told, and it realistically portrays village life, caste division, and religious faith. Note down, these are the very important things. What are they? Means portrays village life, caste division, religious faith, and close ties with whom? Nature. So Raja Rao adapts what? Adapts the Western novel. Adapts the Western novel from what you can say that from to suit Indian sensibility. Like obviously he could have written this in a means any of the Indian language, but he chose the foreign language. His style of writing is also indicating to the foreign authors, right? So that's why you can say Western novel form to suit Indian sensibility, mixing tradition with the modern political awareness, mixing tradition with modern political awareness. So, in all total, if I say that, or in conclusion, I could say that what Kantapura shows what that freedom is achieved. Freedom is achieved through sacrifice. Freedom is achieved through unity. Freedom is achieved through moral strength. Freedom is something shown in the novel or highlights in the novel how ordinary villagers became part of a historic national struggle. Isn't it? Historic national struggle. So, though the people of Kantapura suffer exile means what? Tadipa, thrown from their own place to another place called as a Kasipur where they hide themselves. So, and what you can say that suffer exile and loss means what? Must have lost their means children or maybe parents, maybe lost their or definitely lost their what land, property, cattle, all such kind of a things. Their courage they have not lost. That contributes to India's eventual independence, isn't it? So, and making their story a symbol of national awakening, isn't it? So, therefore, if you talk about that, the author Raja Rao has not written means that Murthy was the hero. It's the villagers who live in Kantapura, so they were the heroes because they were the ordinary people. So, and their unity becomes, shown as a one, and that gives the independence to the country. Hope you understood this. Right now it's your job is to what means understand all such kind of things. Characters are okay, numbers also, years that you need to keep in your mind, place you need to keep in your mind. You shall not write the story like what happened. That is not the teacher wants. The teacher wants that how you better evaluate. તમે પढ़ला ପରେ ତମ ମାଇଣ୍ଡରେ କ'ଣ ଆସିଲା, ତମେ କ'ଣ ଇଣ୍ଟରପ୍ରିଟେସନ କଲ, right? So, means तमे सही सही जगह गुड़ाक मेंशन करियो. Women's participation कौन थेला, villagers ideology कौन थेला, then how means Kantapura is Indianness, isn't it? How the ordinary people turns heroes, isn't it? How means you can talk about the villains we call to these people, right or not? So, and also you can talk about what are the mediums or process that the ordinary villagers do uh, to encourage or spread information to the means all the villagers by narrating the story in a form of poem, in a sad poem, which touch to the emotions of the people, isn't it? So these are the couple of things that you need to keep in your mind while you are writing, right? As well as, yes, I also point out all those heroes name, like means Gokhale, Tilak, these people's name also you need to mention. A.O. Humes, right? So how he participated in that, what do you call to it, Indian National Congress, which he started, right? And how Murthy became the important means individual who create in Congress community in Kantapura, right? How, what is the role of Ratnats, right? How she supports Murthy, isn't it? All such kind of a things that you need to write about Kantapura. I hope you understood this. Fine. That's all. Let's